Good morning and welcome to our second live on Facebook and on Instagram. We are talking about how we can make our homes as comfortable and as productive as we possibly can. Given the current situation that we're in, where we're all working at home and a lot of us are doing it not by choice at the moment. So there's obviously a lot of different factors that we're having to consider, and it's also changed the way that we actually need to physically work. So what I wanted to have a chat about today was looking at how we use our physical spaces and what we can do to try and create the most productive environment possible. So the first thing I wanted to explain to you is how we create our physical environments in our corporate workplaces. So you may or may not be aware that when we create a physical workplace for you in a corporate environment, there are a lot of factors that are taken into consideration to help motivate you, guide your particular behavior, and help you be as productive as possible. So some of those elements revolve around understanding what the purpose of the organisation is, what is it there that you are to do, what's their greater goal, who are they there to serve, but also looking at the values of the organisation. So understanding who they are as a business, what they want to be known for, and what's important to them. All of those factors get embedded into the physical environment, and it guides the way in which we actually then behave, how we show up every day, how we interact with our colleagues, the things that we do, and generally the behaviour and the sequence of events in terms of how we actually engage with the space. So we look at everything from flow, so how you start your day and what are the activities that you then go through, all the way through to the different spaces that we provide, and then also the way that those are zoned out and the relationships of those zones from one to another. So there was a recent article that was published by Pragmatic Thinking, and they talked about the fact that our workplaces are actually designed to guide our behaviour. And at the moment, we don't have that physical structure. We don't have those environments to guide that behaviour. But what's also missing is that routine. We have a routine around how we get up in the day, what we do in the morning, and how we prepare ourselves mentally and physically to actually physically go to the office. That sequence of events all prime us for our working day. When we're actually just rolling out of bed and wandering over to our laptop, we don't have that priming that's happening. And so we need to recreate that, and that's around having routine. But also, one of my friends once described as when she gets up in the morning and she gets dressed and she puts on her suit, it's her suit of armour. It's her cue to know that she's going to work, she knows that she's prepared and she's ready for the day ahead. All of those are psychological cues around how we prepare ourselves to actually physically go to work every day, and how we enable ourselves to be as productive as possible, and how we have that motivation. So obviously we don't have that at the moment, so we need to recreate that as best as we possibly can in our home environment. Now, you've probably heard a lot of different tips and tricks around how you should be working from home. I'm going to tell you to throw out the rule book, because right now we are living in a very unprecedented time, and that's something that is really obvious to so many people, but we're also working in an environment at the moment not by choice. And so we haven't got the ideal work set up at home, most likely. We are going to need to be working in all these different spaces. So most of those people will tell you, oh, you need a home office, it needs to have a door, you need to be closed in, don't work from your bedroom because you won't be able to sleep at night, and don't sit on the couch and don't work on the couch either because it's going to be uncomfortable and bad for your posture. My tips are, we need to be as comfortable as possible at the moment, and when we feel better, we're actually going to be able to work better. So we need to be able to create an environment for us that is going to enable us to be as comfortable as we possibly can through this time, and I'm going to give you some tips and tricks on how you can actually do that. So the first thing is to create a home base. So ideally you should still have a work environment that you associate with work, because that's going to help get you into that mode and to enable you to start to shift gears in terms of your routine and be prepared for the day ahead. So with that particular space, still have an office space set up if you possibly can. Have a desk with your laptop or your computer set up so that you are physically working in a space. But ideally that space then needs to be completely decluttered. Get rid of all the junk, get rid of all the visual noise and distractions that are sitting in that space, and give it a good clean, because you want to have that space to be as inspiring and as motivating as possible for you. You want to enjoy getting out of bed every day and going to that space, you know, and engage with that space, and really, it should be something that makes you feel good. You should want to jump out of bed and go there. So if we can start doing by that, the next thing is having really great basic ergonomics. So think about the way your monitor's set up and your screen. So a really great tip that was taught to me was, if you extend your arm out directly in front of you, that should be to the center of the screen. And that's where your eyes are most comfortable, and your fingertips should be touching the screen. So that's a really basic ergonomic tip on how to set up your screen height. Now, you don't need a fancy laptop screen or anything. My particular screen right here, right now, is actually chopped up on reams of paper and a box to get it at the correct height, and then I've got it connected to a second laptop, second larger screen as well. So it doesn't need to be a fancy setup, just something that's going to be practical and works for you. Now, your desk ideally should be at around the 700 high mark. So that's 700 millimeters, and give or take a little bit. So there's a bit of flex in that. So somewhere in that range is where your desk should be. So that could be your dining table. It could be a purpose-made desk. It could be a plank of wood chopped up on some bricks. But that's the type of height range that you want to be working within. And then the other thing that you want to be looking at is having a reasonably comfortable chair. Now, not all of us are going to be able to have an ergonomic chair, but what you ideally want to do is have that chair then adjusted to support you. Now, there was a really great video posted on LinkedIn last week, and it was Anna Louise was showing us how we can actually take a standard dining chair, and with some cushions we can adjust our posture to make it as most comfortable and ergonomic for us as possible. So I'll post that in the links a little bit later so that you can have a look at that, but it was a really simple tricks and tips. The other thing that you really want to make sure you've got right is your lighting. Now, lighting is going to be really good because you need to have that from an eye strain perspective. You want to make sure that your space is as well lit as possible. So it doesn't need to be fancy lighting. I've got, oh, someone's not able to hear me on Facebook. Oh, that's, yeah, it should all be on. There shouldn't be a problem there. Not sure what's happening there, but we should be live, and we should be having that there, so it should all be okay. So with the lighting, your lighting doesn't need to be anything too fancy, just even some just basic desk lamps to provide enough luminance in the space that you're working in is ideally what you should be looking for. The other things that I like to look at is make it feel as nice as possible. So make sure that you've got, it's clean and it's decluttered, but then bring some of your personality to that space as well. Bring in your favorite coffee cup, bring in photos of your family. Flowers and plants help to create that environment there so it's as nice as possible. And the other thing you want to look at is even burning a candle. So associating a scent with the act of going to work to help shift those gears and get you into that mindset of actually going to work every day. All of those things can help you feel comfortable and settled in your work environment. The other thing that I think is a really great tip that I've seen around is creating a mood board. And on that mood board is putting things there about why you go to work every day. Pictures of your colleagues, photographs of the work that you've done or the people that you work with, whether it's clients or colleagues, but something that connects you back with who you work for and why you work for them. We work for a particular company for a reason. We're connected to it. It connects with our purpose and our particular values. Remind yourself of that by creating this vision board around that to help inspire you every day, because we can't physically connect with those people. So let's find another way that we can actually do that visually. Now, the other thing that I was thinking about is we often don't think to use all the different spaces within our home. So again, I'm throwing out that rule book. Forget everything that everyone else has ever told you, because I think that we need to be using all the different spaces within our environment, because those options that are available to us are endless, and it helps create different physical postures. Right now, we're spending a lot of time at our computers, in front of our screens. We're connecting with people over Zoom. We're not having that physical movement that we would typically have in the day. We're not going out to get our morning coffee. We're not walking around to get our lunch. We're not physically getting up and moving to go to any meeting, because we're just flicking from one screen to another and not actually getting up and shifting. So we're not having any of those postural changes. So when we design a work environment, we look at 5 different postural changes, and that's a balance of spaces that we use. So that goes from quiet spaces, collaboration spaces, standing, bump spaces, and lounging spaces is the 5th one. So in each of those particular environments, what we're creating is a different posture and a different way of working. We bring different energy and we bring different activities to each of those environments. So in our quiet spaces, that's a smaller, more intimate space. It's usually made for 1 to 2 people. It's where we can go do quiet, concentrative work. We're not being interrupted by conversations of those around us, and we're not having phone calls. So it's really much more that intimate, insular, individualized concentrative time. Then we've got our standing spaces, and as it says, we're standing, we're working, whether that's we're standing and brainstorming with other people and working collaboratively, or we're standing and we're physically working at our desk. But we have that different range of posture from sitting to standing. The other thing that we have then is our lounging spaces, and it's somewhere where we can just go and relax. We can work informally, we can do something that's a little bit less strenuous, we can have a chat with our colleagues. So it's a bit more of a casual and relaxed atmosphere. We then got our bump spaces, and they're the spaces that we can connect with everybody else on. So that's where we want to bump into our colleagues. We want to have those casual water cooler, coffee machine conversations. So it is the cafe, it is the print utility area. It's those hotspots that exist within our businesses to create informal interaction between colleagues and different departments. And then the other thing that we've got is our collaboration spaces, and it goes without saying, they're the spaces that we want to bring people together, and we want to have people connecting and collaborating and discussing things at the same time. So this is how we want to have a look at all of these spaces, and then we want to see what we can do and how we can use those spaces within our own home. So you've got your main home base, and that's your desk, but in addition to that, you've got your kitchen. Use your kitchen as either a standing space, because the bench height in the kitchen is taller and you can stand there and work. Again, the height of the desk, the bench top, needs to be adjusted so that your elbows are at 90 degrees to your body. That's when you're at your optimum ergonomic height. So again, chalk your laptop up or your desk, your keyboard, so that you're at the right height. And then what you want to do is use that space to have those more standing conversations. Use it for collaboration as well. So what we've started doing with our team is we go and have our morning coffee in our kitchens, and we call each other and we have a FaceTime conversation. So replicate the types of activities that you might have in your commercial workplace in your home. Same goes with your lounge. If you're wanting to do some more casual work and it's different kind of mindset and it's a different type of activity to sitting at your physical desk and operating, use your lounge. Sit there for a short period of time. It's not meant to be sitting there for an extended period of time, but again, as you would in your corporate environment, you can sit in your lounge area and have a more informal work environment and work there a bit more casually. Everyone says don't work in your bedroom, but I don't know about you, but I find working in my bedroom a really creative space. Being able to sit cross-legged on my bed with my papers spread out, but it brings a different type of energy to that environment. I have a different way of thinking when I'm in that space, and I think it's just about understanding what it is that you're trying to do, what task and activity am I trying to perform, and what space is going to best serve me to have that mental activity that I need to be having. So using all the different spaces in our home enables us to be far more active. If you're having a stand-up conversation or your daily morning huddle, take your phone and go for a walk outside. Look at the trees, walk around the backyard, walk down the street. Use as many different environments as you possibly can so that you're getting that physical activity, but it's embedded in your day and you're breaking up how you're using your space. And then you're not confined to this one singular little room or singular space. Now, all of these are very idealistic, and ideally you would try and incorporate as much as it is you can, but I do appreciate that different people are living in different circumstances at the moment, and it's not always that easy. So just thinking about how we do that, but also thinking about the different technology and devices that we're using. So rather than doing everything on a face-to-face laptop call, use your phone, use your iPad, make it just a phone call from time to time, just so that you can incorporate different physical activity. You might also be wondering why you're quite tired at the moment, and a lot of it has to do with the visual eye strain that we're experiencing, because we're looking at a singular dimension all the time. We don't have the ability to focus on long distance options or objects. We haven't got the ability for our eyes to refocus. So we're getting visual strain, you might be getting headaches, and you might be feeling a lot more tired at the moment. These are all reasons and contributing factors. The fact that we're also not getting up and moving around a lot at the moment as well. So there's quite a few numbers of factors that are contributing to that at the moment. So it's just about thinking about that and then identifying where you can incorporate different postures, different activities, and different ways of working throughout your entire day. So a lot of that then comes down to routine. And it's about understanding and planning out our day and then thinking about what our options are. And so the next week we're going to be talking about routine. And as our government has announced, we will be homeschooling our kids for the next 5 weeks. So many of us are going to have a lot of new challenges next week, because we're going to have kids at home who are going to need schooling, as well as us trying to actually get our jobs done. So that's going to be next week's conversation. So if anyone's got any questions around that, any experience shares would be wonderful, because I think we're all going to be challenged in a whole new way. I'm very keen to hear. Now we've got a question here, and I'm going to throw it open to questions now. So if anyone does have any questions, please pop them in the chat box, and I'll share what I know. And I'd appreciate if anyone else has got any experience shares that they would like to throw out there as well. Things that you guys have done at home. How are you engaging with your home, and what challenges are you having at the moment? So Christy's asked if we think it's important to keep the same time schedule, or is there flexibility? I think that this is a great opportunity for us to really look at what the traditional 9 to 5 looks like. I don't believe that the 9 to 5 is going to live through this scenario. I think that we're going to be finding different ways of working and really embracing that work-life balance. Some of us might be early risers. You get up, you get started, and you might have 3 days work packed away before 9 o'clock, which means that you can go and spend some time with the kids, you can go for a play in the park, you can do all sorts of different things, and then you start again. Personally, I'm a night owl, so I would much rather have a sleep in and then get to work, get my most productive days done early on, my productive hours done as early as possible, and then I can work my way into the night. But I've got to take a 3-4 chunk of hour time there from about 5 o'clock to 8 o'clock, where we have dinner and bath time with the kids, and then I can start working again, because that's when I feel more productive and I've got that quiet ability to concentrate. So I think being flexible with our time is going to be is something that we need to consider, and finding what's going to work for you is going to be a matter of trial and error as well. And a lot of that is going to come down to planning out routine and things, which we'll get into a bit more deeply next week. Is there any other questions that anyone might have, or has anyone else found different ways of working at home since they've been pushed into lockdown and now slightly going crazy in ISO? Because I don't know about you, but I found that just because someone's told me I can't go out and I can't do anything, it has actually sent me a little bit more bonkers. And we've been on far more bushwalks since we can't get out of the house, and we're finding different ways of getting that activity in every day. But if no one else has got any questions, please feel free to continue the conversation in the chat box. Post your questions onto Facebook. If you're not part of our Facebook group yet and you'd like to be, please jump over to Facebook and go to the community page, and then you'll find the community dialogue is our Facebook group over there, and we'd love to have you join us. And Katie said, yes, using different spaces is so important, and it is, and it's about the fact that we do it at work and we do it unconsciously, and all of those things are done to help promote as much productivity and motivation in our day. So we've just got to find different ways to help make us motivated and make us feel productive as possible at home. And at the baseline, it's about feeling comfortable and feeling as great as we possibly can. So when we're feeling good, we're going to be able to work a lot better. But thanks so much for joining us today, and I hope to see you guys again next week, and we'll see you then. Thank you. Bye.